Hello everybody, this is Pilgrim, and today I've got a special video. This is a custom class that I've made for Torchlight 2. It is not something I've done before, or anything remotely close to it. The last time I did any sort of game design was like over 10 years ago when I was in college, and that was a single unit and I was bad at it. It was not for me. And then, yeah, during this global crisis, I don't have a job, so I had a lot of time on my hands. I've been getting into Torchlight 2, or Torchlight 1 primarily, and I really want to like Torchlight 2, but I hate all of the classes. It's really annoying. They're really annoying. So, this is my effort to try and make the game better. So this is the Warcaster class. It is designed on the Iron Kingdoms by Privateer Press, and I think this setting in the game really works well for it. And I think I've done a pretty good job of implementing it in a decent way. So let's start with the charge bar. Now this isn't finished. There's still a couple of issues that I need to sort out before actually publishing this, but for the moment most of it is okay. I'll go over what's wrong with it later on near the end. So we have this focus bar. Now the focus bar is a combination of the Engineer and Outlander charge bars. So I have a passive effect that increases the more focus I have, in this case damage reduction, up to 15%. And I have working charges, in this case renamed focus, and they work well together, so I was able to do that. So that allows you to get better force hammers, flame hammers and force fields and stuff like that, yeah, that's been going well. Now the issue with this at the moment is there's one more change I want to do, and that is the first part that says the Warcaster gains focus over time. I haven't been able to figure out how to implement it yet, but I'm confident that I can. I don't know why things like putting a minus on the degrade isn't affecting it. That makes the most sense, and I just don't understand why it doesn't work. But with some help from the modding community, I'm sure I can figure it out. But yes, otherwise you will passively gain charges without having to rely on abilities. And so effectively you get passive defenses if you keep it full. So if you wanted to become a tanky character, you can do that. But if you wanted to then use abilities like Flame Hammer, you could get a really big damage boost at the cost of defenses. So that was the idea behind that, and that works really well with the whole tabletops. I urge you, if you haven't played War Machine Hordes, to look into it, and you'll start to realise where all of these abilities are coming from. But for those of you who do know, yes, this is pretty much identical to how it is on the tabletop. you gain passive points, you then expend them. The more passive points you have, or focus you have, the tankier you are. And every time you use a focus, you can no longer tank as well. So it really works well here. Let's take a look at the skills. We have 3 trees: Gunnery, Mechanica, Runes and Jacks. When I started this project, it was intended to be a gun mage class, not a Warcaster class, but I was having trouble finding enough skills to warrant 3 trees, and I had to keep on adding stuff until eventually I had to sit back and say, okay, this isn't really a gun mage anymore. I'm starting to incorporate a load of engineer stuff. Why not simply change this to a Warcaster? So that I came to that realization at the start of the second day. I have, let's take a look at this. How many hours? 46 hours. I did not have any hours before today. So not today, before a couple of days ago, and in a couple of days I've racked up 46 hours. I think I might have had like half an hour from years ago, but that's it. So it kind of tells you how long I've spent on this. And yeah, so basically, at beginning of the first day, second day, I came to this realization, and then I did the full switch over to Warcaster. So there's 3 parts to a Warcaster. I would like a 4th, which is Mage. Mage is not implemented yet, but that is a pretty colossal task, adding an extra skill tree. I think I've found out ways to make it a lot smaller, so it won't be as bad, but there is still some issues, definitely. But yeah, at the moment, obviously it's built around like a Signal Warcaster because we've got lots of electrical themes, which makes a lot of sense with Engineer, which is the Mechanica tree. And yeah, so basically guns, like giant hammers and jacks and runes and stuff. So there's still a couple of things from the gun mage stuff that's been brought across. So runes is one of them. My initial idea was a elemental attack based pistol user, either dual wield or in this current setup, which is a pistol and a sword in the offhand. And so the idea was to incorporate these brands, so runes, that they etch into that ammo, which is again, it's part of the lore. It's how gun mages create their bullets to do certain things. They etch in runes and glyphs and everything to get effects, and then they usually speak like words of power along with it. You get the idea. The point is, these are basically passive effects that turn it into a elemental based build, which I think is really cool. I've kept those and just incorporated it into like a runes and jack theme. So we've got Blood Pact, Stone Pact and Rune Vault, which are all rune based things. So we got this aura on the ground essentially, this rune field, and the same for Stone Pact, and the same for Rune Vault. Makes a little rune thing and jumps away. So Yeah, I decided to keep that. That's fine. So we have on gunnery we've got rapid fire, shadow shot, tangling shot, venomous hail, bramble wall. Although this will be changed to a slash attack for the sword. So one of the biggest things that is missing at the moment is how do I make the sword useful. So first thing is we're going to make an attack for it specifically, and that's going to be the slash attack. It has some problems currently though. You just saw that. So it is using the pistol and it's using unarmed. I am currently waiting for replies on how to fix this. It should be possible. I do not see why it wouldn't be, but effectively what needs to happen is we need to ignore the pistol altogether. Okay, and only use the sword. Once we've dealt with that, the next thing to deal with is to give it a full 15 levels with tier bonuses. Currently it's 12 because all we're doing, 10, because all we're doing is taking this from the Torchlight one. Destroyer. So that's going to be a lot of work as well. I do not know how to make tier bonuses yet. That's completely new. What I've done during this first phase, so there's going to be multiple phases to this. First phase will be just good enough to go up on the Steam page, workshop, and then I intend to modify things, make new skills, but for the moment I'm just taking skills from various other classes into this. That makes sense. Currently that's been working fine, but the slash attack will be my first entry into a completely 15 level 3 tier skill. We also have oh god, how do you say that? Fusillade? I think that's right, Fusillade, which is a cannon skill. Venomous Hail is a shotgun only skill. So a thing you notice here is the requirements. Requires a pistol and a one-hand sword. This will not work if you don't have the sword in the offhand. Ta-da! So, same for the slash attack as well. Oh. In theory, it should require a pistol. I need to quickly change that, that's easy enough to do. And other thing as well. So in learning all aspects as well as I can, giving equipment to the character on startup is also something that I've learned. So basically it annoyed me that you didn't have a full set of gear when you start the game, so I've just given you level 1 light armor. Yeah, simple as that. Also, you can dictate a single weapon and a shield in here, and you can also say main hand, offhand, and the switch as well. So that's the thing that's happened. Also we've got Death's Bounty. Just because I needed an endgame kind of level 42 skill. This may change though. I may end up going for another sword attack. We then got Bullseye Mastery, which was a disabled skill, which I've re-enabled. And this gives pistols and shotguns crit chance and crit damage. We've got Elemental Attunement and Master of the Elements. This is me being really lazy. At some point before I release it, these will be combined, and we will have another skill. It'll be much easier because it doesn't require any sort of tier bonus. But there will be another skill, passive, that effectively turns the sword into a stat stick, effectively giving us things like block chance and probably flat damage, because we actually are losing a ton of damage. More specifically, flat damage to probably just pistol, not even a sword, just the pistol. To actually bring up damage on the pistol, because you lose out by not going dual wield. I mean, we could just turn it into effectively a shield. We could turn these into shields. I'll figure something out. But currently, this configuration is not the greatest when it comes to endgame. Although it's fine at the beginning of the game, it doesn't really matter. The game actually automatically implements a system where you will attack from range with a pistol, but the moment that creature comes in range, you immediately attack with a sword. That's already there, which is great. Unfortunately, this is definitely a pistol-centric tree. I do not really want to do much with the sword, but slash attack may be a second skill, but I do definitely want to combine those two. This is just really time consuming. I have to add 4 things under 15 levels, so 60 entries I need to make to combine these two. So I've just been really lazy and I haven't done it yet. So yeah, that's that tree. I also want to try and change the animation, or the effect specifically actually, so this ceases to be poison damage and goes into fire, as a fire ray skill. So currently it looks like this, which is fine, but I want to make it into like this flare type of deal, so fire damage essentially instead. Although if this releases with no changes, that's fine. Honestly, it's one of the smaller things to deal with. Bramble Wall is literally just a stand-in. There's nothing in there at the moment. It will probably be changed with the slash attack. Okay, let's go to Mechanica. So this is where we get our melee-centric build. So I wanted a way to break shields, and this made the most sense. So these are restricted to great hammers only. That's a pretty big change. I've made a lot more restrictions. So one of the things that I've done to balance it. So you can't just take a legendary sword. You've got to get a legendary great hammer if you really want to get the best of it. Otherwise, all of these have had no changes. Emberquake will probably get switched for something else though. I don't know what, but currently it's kind of redundant. This is what you would do with a strength build, this is what you do with a focus build, but this is a strength class. And so I don't want Emberquake. It does pretty much the same thing as well as Flamehammer. Excuse me. So that's Flamehammer, and you get two extra ones when you consume a charge. So it does a lot of AoE, as opposed to Emberquake, which basically just increases damage, and that's it. Honestly, much prefer flame hammer. Although I do like the effect of these lines. But yeah, I don't know how to change those sorts of animations and effects. Not yet. It's going to take a while. We've also got heavy lifting, so again it's restricted to Great Hammer and Cannon. This gives us attack speed, cast speed, crit damage, stun chance. So it's upgraded. You may be thinking, cast speed? Why cast speed? Well, that is because Fusillade. Or Fusillade. Sounds almost identical, but it's slightly different. Yeah, so this is actually a casting animation, not an attack animation. This allows us to get a bit extra rockets out. So yeah, gets crit chance as well. Sorry, not crit chance, crit damage as well for cannons. So one thing I wanted to focus on was that there should be a pistol and offhand sword theme as the primary theme of this tree, but I didn't want to completely restrict shotguns and cannons, so we have a single shotgun and we have a single cannon skill. So with this we are able to take advantage of crit damage and crit chance, and with cannons we get to take advantage of crit damage and cast speed. We've also got Bulwark, has not been changed. We get up to 15% on this focus bar here when it's at max. So that combined with this gives us a pretty solid 35% reduction. In addition to whatever physical armor we have. So people don't particularly like Bulwark because it's very underpowered, but when you combine it with an existing physical reduction, I think the total becomes the sum of its parts, and it makes it really good. It makes it a good choice again. We've also got Shred Armor, and I've removed the restriction on melee only, so now this affects all attacks, and it's a way of shield destruction, I think. So I had this before I got Ember Hammer and switched over to Warcaster, and I think being able to shred armor is another viable way of stripping a shield. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, I just like the idea of shredding armor, and is a bit like I want to say Black Penny is a skill, is an ability in War Machine and Hordes as one of the bullet types where it takes off armor, like as an armor reduction. I think it's Black Penny. There was an armor reduction ability for one of those bullets. It's either that or it's maybe thinking Gorman the Wolf, which is an alchemist who throws a bomb and it has like an acidic armor stripping ability. Regardless, that's where the inspiration is from anyway. It's those sorts of abilities. Okay, and then the best for last is the Jax. So there is no duration. I've removed duration, otherwise they're identical. So yep, that's really good. These last forever, which many people will be grateful for. this is a very easy thing to do actually. It took me 2 days to figure it out, but once I figured it out I was like, that is so obvious. So basically in the affix, in data editor, if you go to affixes, you can search for sledgebot and gonebot duration, and if you simply keep those but delete the duration affix inside it, it does it. It just removes the duration and it updates the tooltip. So yeah, if any of you wanted a really simple mod and you wanted to do it yourself, that's how you do it. You just go to affixes, go to the sledge and gonebot duration, and delete the duration inside it, not the whole affix, because there's something else inside and I don't know what it affects, so I didn't touch it. But after deleting duration, the line, it did exactly what I wanted it to. So yeah, another thing that I want to add to it in later phases is being able to use charges on these skills. So at the moment we have a cooldown, and what I want to happen is, instead of having the thing destroy itself when we summon another one, I want it to not destroy and then add a buff, like move speed or damage or something like that. And that again comes from the tabletop. So if you're not familiar, let me just give you a quick rundown. Essentially, in a basic game you'll have a Warcaster and his Warjacks, which are probably like 3 Warjacks, let's say. Okay, at the beginning of the game, or of your turn, you can give out focus. So your caster has focus, let's just say 6, and you can give focus to Warjacks instead. So they just move across, and then those Warjacks can use it to do a special ability. So you could run, for example, and running takes a focus, so you remove the focus and you go double your speed. That's what I want to happen here, is when cooldown goes off, do the ability. I'm quite confident that it's doable, but currently I do not know how to do that. That's probably going to take a couple of modders put together to come up with how that's done. But yeah, that should be really exciting when it's finished. Until then, just be happy that you have infinite duration summons. It would also be really nice if, well, more specifically, so I want the focus to affect the big bot, because this is a Warjack in all but name. But what I want to happen with these little cannons is having another one. I want 2 to be able to be summoned, and even keeping the duration. I don't intend to reduce the duration any more than it is on here, which is another 150, or I should say 1 minute 30. And so when they do die, you can't just automatically summon another one if you're in a really heated battle. Like if you summon that and then it immediately dies, I don't want you to just be able to resummon. I want there to be consequences. So you keep the cooldown. So yeah, also got the little copter dude, and also spider mines. This whole tree allows you to have a completely different playstyle than these 2. So this can be a pure melee build if you really want to. This could be a pure gun build if you want to, and this can be a summon one if you want to, and you can actually use spider bots as your main attack, and yeah, the moment I can update this skill and this one, this is effectively going to be like your oh god, what is it called? It's been so long since I've played, and I've forgotten the term. It's your caster group, basically. Your battle group? Yes, battle group. So this is effectively your battle group. The most surprising thing about all of this is why nobody's done this before. I haven't come across any mod that takes inspiration from War Machine and Hordes, and that's just so weird for me, because just look at it. That is a Warjack from Privateer Press. That's exactly what they look like, and why nobody's like just built around it is beyond me. So hopefully, with all of this, I can actually finish this game, because I've never finished Torchlight 2. I've completed Torchlight 1 multiple times, multiple different characters, and I loved it every time. I'm even playing Torchlight 1 again with a total conversion mod, which is fantastic, which you should all try out. Let me find out the name of it. There we go. The Arcanov's Torchlight Overhaul, with a load of maps and stuff, and it's a fantastic mod, and it basically eliminates health and mana potions, redoes the whole mana cost for skills, gives you higher regen, and you can only get heal effects from the spell heal and other like algae gels and stuff like that. Algae, however you pronounce it. It's really good, and yeah, definitely give it a try. But yeah, I never completed Torchlight 2. I think I got somewhere like mid chapter 2, maybe a bit further, I can't remember. But oh no, I got to the beginning of Act 3, and then I just gave up. That's because I just hated the classes. I think I mentioned that at the beginning. They're just really poorly designed, in my opinion, and don't make a lot of sense. They have a whole load of wonkiness, like the fact that these summons have a duration. It would have made engineers so much better, and it just baffles my mind that they kind of just shot themselves in the foot, because how many people are in the same boat as I am, where they just couldn't be bothered to complete the game. That's it, that's my reason. I just couldn't be bothered. I didn't like the characters, I didn't like the skills and the restrictions that they had. Yeah, I can absolutely see myself playing the whole game. I will probably, as with all class mods, there's typically an inherent OP-ness to them. I think it's very hard to balance, but that will come with time. Once I've actually completed the game and I can understand the balance a bit more, I will go back and redo this. Maybe that 15% physical reduction is too much, like way too much, and I'll have to reduce it to maybe 10, 5, I don't know, on the charge bar passive, but I do want it. I do think it's now doable. I will not be clawing at my hair in frustration. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. Can't think of anything. Yeah, I suppose we'll stop it there. We've gone over it enough. I think if you got any suggestions, then please let me know. And until then, have a good day. Bye bye.